They say a man becomes a father the moment he hears his child cry for the first time. But for me, fatherhood began in silence, behind a locked hospital door, while my world collapsed on the other side. And when I finally heard the truth, it wasn't a cry. It was a lie. My name is Andrew, and this story is not one I ever thought I'd be telling, because it shouldn't have happened. My life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. Simple, quiet, decent. I lived in Odessa with my partner Tatiana. We weren't married legally, but in every way that mattered, she was my wife. We shared a home, dreams, and soon, a child. When she told me she was pregnant, I froze. Not out of fear, but awe. I still remember how she said it, smiling, calm, just holding the test out with both hands like it was some ancient treasure. "Are you happy?" she asked me. I didn't even answer. I just held her. Of course I was. I never thought I'd want to be a father, but with her, everything made sense. We started picking names, building cribs, arguing over baby clothes. She'd giggle when the baby kicked, and every time she did, I swore I could feel it too. Everything was going great. Smooth pregnancy. No complications. Tatiana's doctor said things were progressing perfectly, and that made us feel safe, even a little invincible. So, in her 8th month, when she suggested we take a short trip to the countryside to visit her grandmother Vera, I agreed. Some fresh air, a quiet break before the chaos of parenting began. We arrived on a Friday. Vera was warm, loving the typical old-world grandmother. Big meals, herbal teas, thick blankets on the bed. She pampered Tatiana like a queen. That evening we sat outside under the stars. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the life I want. I had no idea what was about to hit us. The next morning, Tatiana was in the kitchen with Vera when I heard a sudden crash, a plate, I think. Then her voice, shaking, "Andre." She was bent over, both hands clutching her belly. Pale, breathless, eyes wide with pain. Vera sprang into action like a soldier, shouting at me to call an ambulance. "She's going into labor," Vera shouted. "Now. Call them now. She's only 8 months," I said, already dialing. The wait for the ambulance was unbearable. Tatiana was moaning softly, her head on Vera's lap, while I paced outside like a man possessed. 35 minutes. That's how long it took. 35 minutes of pure fear. The paramedics loaded her into the van, and I jumped in beside her, only to be stopped. "Family only," one of them barked. "I am her family. She needs calm, not panic. Follow us by car." I watched them drive away, lights flashing. I remember gripping the steering wheel so hard my hands hurt. The hospital wasn't impressive, chipped walls, old equipment, the kind of place where you pray more than you trust. But it was all we had. They took her straight in. No explanations. No time. I followed, but a nurse blocked the door. "Sir, please wait outside." "But she's my partner." "You can't be in the room. This isn't America." I sat in a cracked plastic chair. The hallway was dim, yellow light buzzing above me. Every time a door opened, I jumped. I tried calling her phone. Nothing. After half an hour, I stopped breathing properly. After an hour, I started whispering prayers I didn't know I still remembered. A nurse walked past. I stood. "Excuse me, is it dangerous, a baby being born at 8 months?" She looked at me like I was interrupting something stupid. "Could be worse," she said flatly. 7 is better. 8 is tricky. But she's in good hands." Good hands? The walls were crumbling, and the staff looked exhausted. But what choice did I have? I stared at the double doors. I imagined her inside, screaming, crying, pushing alone. I should have been there. She needed me. Our baby needed me. Eventually, the doors swung open. A woman in scrubs stepped out, holding a clipboard. "Saminihan?" she asked. Yes, that's me." She looked at the clipboard again. "Congratulations. You have a daughter." I blinked. "A daughter?" "Yes. 7 months and a few days. She's small, but stable. We've placed her in an incubator." "And Tatiana?" "She's resting. Very weak. She lost a lot of strength. But she'll be fine." "Can I see them?" The nurse shook her head. "Not now. Your wife is sedated, and the baby's under observation. But go home," she said kindly, but firmly. "You've done your part. Come back later." I stepped out of that hospital into the dusty afternoon sun, stunned. A father. I was a father, but I hadn't heard her cry. I hadn't held her. I didn't even know her name. Tatiana and I had talked about names, but never decided. I sat in my car and just stared at the steering wheel. She did it, I thought. She brought our baby into the world. but something inside me felt off. I didn't know what, just a tightness in my chest, like I'd forgotten something important. I told myself I was just tired, that everything would be fine in the morning. I was wrong. The next morning, I arrived at the hospital early, carrying a small bouquet of flowers and a ridiculous teddy bear I bought at a gas station. I wanted to make Tatiana smile, maybe even laugh. After all, she had just gone through hell to bring our daughter into the world. I wanted her to know how proud I was of her. But when I walked in, I was greeted not with smiles, but cold stares and bureaucracy. Name? The receptionist asked. Andrew Semenian. I'm here to see Tatiana and my daughter. She flipped through some pages, tapped a few keys on her ancient computer, and mumbled, Room 214. No visitors for the baby. Speak to the head nurse. That should have been a red flag, but I ignored it. When I opened the door to Tatiana's room, she was lying on her side, staring at the wall. Pale. Silent. Hey, I whispered. I brought you something. She didn't move. I sat next to her, put the teddy bear on the table, and gently touched her hand. It was ice cold. I was so worried about you, I said softly. They said it was a girl. She's small but okay. Finally, she turned her head, just slightly, and whispered, Have you seen her? No, I said. They said she's in an incubator, but that she's stable. Tatiana blinked slowly. They didn't bring her to me. It's probably because she's premature. Maybe they're just being cautious. But even as I said it, something in me recoiled. I didn't believe myself. Later that afternoon, I went to the nurse's station. Can I see my daughter now? No visitors for the NICU, the head nurse barked. I'm the father. Still no. Come back tomorrow. But Sir, I said come back tomorrow. Frustrated, I returned to Tatiana's room. She was still silent, lost in a fog. I tried to distract her, told her how proud I was, that our little girl would grow stronger, that we'd take her home soon. Then she said something that froze me. I had a dream last night. Okay. I was getting ready for some kind of celebration. I wore a beautiful dress. I looked in the mirror, but it was foggy, dirty, and when I wiped it, I was naked. No dress. No voice. I opened my mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Just silence. I didn't know what to say. I just sat there. My grandma used to say dreams like that mean loss, shame, or lies. I tried to smile. Tanya, it was just a dream. She turned to me. What if it wasn't? I brushed it off, telling myself that she was emotional, drugged, recovering. Of course she was having strange thoughts. But the next morning, everything changed. Tatiana woke up early. She'd asked a nurse when the babies were usually brought in for feeding. The nurse had said, in the morning. So when she noticed other mothers receiving their newborns to nurse, but not her, she decided to find out what was going on. She pulled herself out of bed, against all logic, and walked barefoot, in her hospital gown, down the corridor to the nurse's station. When she returned, she was shaking. They said our baby isn't ready, that she's still too weak. But the way they spoke, it didn't feel right. What do you mean? The nurse snapped at me, said she was too busy to talk. And then she muttered something about asking the head doctor. I went down there myself, demanding answers. Finally, they told me where to find the department head. Tatiana and I walked into the office together. I held her hand tightly. She looked like a ghost, thin, exhausted, barely able to stand. The doctor looked at us, then sighed. Please, sit. We just want to see our daughter, Tatiana said, voice trembling. Please. I'm very sorry, the doctor began. You must try to remain calm. What are you saying? I asked. She passed away, she said flatly. Early this morning. Everything went silent. I didn't hear the rest of the words. I only felt Tatiana's hand slip from mine as she collapsed onto the floor. We buried her grief that day, not the child. Tatiana's family arrived. Her grandmother Vera came all the way from the village. They took Tatiana home to Odessa, hoping the familiar surroundings would ease the pain. But nothing helped. She didn't eat. Didn't sleep. Sometimes she'd stand by the window for hours, staring at nothing. I tried talking to her. I tried being strong. She just kept whispering, She's not dead. I know it. I wanted to believe her. God, I did. But I was drowning myself. How do you comfort someone when you don't understand what's happening either? Then came the second dream. Tatiana woke up in tears. She came to me, she said. She told me her name is Taya. Who did? Our daughter. In my dream, she called me Mama. She asked me to take her home. I felt a chill down my spine. I tried to speak, but I didn't know what to say. Andrei, she said firmly, She's alive. I lost it. Tanya, stop. Please. This has to stop. You're torturing yourself. And me. Her grandmother tried to support her. Dreams mean things, Vera insisted. The child is trying to reach you. I couldn't take it anymore. You're not helping. She needs reality, not fairy tales. Vera looked at me with such sadness. You don't see what she feels, Andre. But I do. That night, Vera packed her bags and left. You've made your choice, she told me. Now let God make his. And still, I told myself it was just grief. But then Tatiana got a call. And everything changed. It happened on a Monday. Tatiana had barely spoken all day. I was getting ready for work when her phone rang. I saw her face change from blank to pale to something else. Something almost electric. She didn't say much. Just nodded. Listened. Wrote something down. When she hung up, I asked, who was that? She looked at me. Really looked at me for the first time in days. That was a woman named Inna, she said. She said she lost her baby at the same hospital. And that she found him. Alive. I laughed. I didn't mean to. But it was the kind of laugh you let out when reality feels like it's slipping between your fingers. Tatiana didn't flinch. She said our hospital is part of something illegal. That babies are being stolen. Sold. That's insane, I snapped. You believe that? She nodded. I have to. Because it makes more sense than anything else I've heard. And just like that, she was moving again. Awake. Alive. Fueled by something I couldn't stop. Hope. She called her childhood friend Allah, a force of nature if there ever was one. 10 minutes later, Allah was banging on our door. Tanya, she said, you've got 10 minutes to get dressed. We're going to the hospital. To do what? I asked, stunned. To find your daughter, she said, without blinking. Tatiana and Allah returned that evening, and what they told me made my stomach turn. They'd spoken to 2 other women who had delivered healthy babies in that same hospital, only to be told hours later that their children had died unexpectedly. In both cases, the mothers were denied the chance to see the body. No funerals. No explanations. Just paperwork and condolences. Sound familiar? That night, I barely slept. And not because I believed them. I didn't. Not yet. But something inside me whispered, what if? The next day, Tatiana and Allah returned to the hospital, but this time, with questions and demands. They marched straight into the office of the head of the maternity department. We want answers, Allah said. Where are these babies being buried? Show us the documents. The head doctor, a cold, tired-looking woman, acted surprised at first, then annoyed. We follow all standard procedures, she insisted. When a baby dies and the family doesn't claim the body in time, the hospital handles burial. Where? Allah asked. When? Who handled the remains? Which agency? What cemetery? That's confidential, the doctor snapped. And frankly, I'm not obligated to disclose that. You're hiding something, Tatiana said quietly. Excuse me. You're hiding something, she repeated, louder. My daughter. My daughter is alive. And you took her from me. Security was called. They were escorted out. That night was the first time I actually thought, what if she's right? I couldn't eat. Couldn't work. I sat on the edge of the bed while Tatiana slept, just staring at her. She wasn't crazy. Broken, maybe. Hurt beyond words. But not crazy. And the dreams, they kept coming. Every night, she dreamed of our daughter. The same name. The same voice. The same desperate plea. Mama, take me home. I wanted to believe. God, I did. But I was terrified of what believing would cost me. One morning, I lost control. I walked into the kitchen, saw her scribbling something in a notebook, names, dates, details from phone calls, and I just exploded. You have to stop. I shouted. You're spiraling. You don't even know if these people are telling the truth. She stared at me. Her voice was so calm it scared me. I do know, she said. Because I'm a mother. And I feel it. I feel it too. I snapped. I feel our daughter is gone. That we need to grieve and move on. You can move on if you want, she said. But I'm not done. Not until I know the truth. Then came the con artist. A few days later, Tatiana got another call from a woman who claimed she had proof that her daughter was alive. Her name was also Inna, but not the same one as before. They met at a park. I didn't go. I was too tired. Too skeptical. When she came back, she looked like someone had drained the life out of her. She said she knew where Taya was, Tatiana whispered. But she needed money. $5,000. What? She said she paid off the same doctor. That she could help us get her back. I didn't even respond. I just walked out. The next day, Tatiana found Alla again and showed her the woman's name. Alla pulled out a list. Checked it. She's not on the list of verified cases, Alla said. She's scamming you. Tatiana went pale. I gave her $100, just to prove I believed her. Good thing you didn't give her more, Alla muttered. They argued. Tatiana cried. I didn't say a word. I thought it was over. But then, someone knocked at our door. A man in a suit. Serious. Stern. Holding a badge. Tatiana Semenahina, he asked. Yes, she said. I'm Investigator Ivanov. I'd like to speak to you about your child. The man introduced himself as Serhiy Ivanov, a senior investigator with the regional prosecutor's office. He didn't smile. Didn't even sit. We're currently building a case, he said, against a group of individuals suspected of trafficking newborns out of several hospitals in the region. Your name came up. Your file, your story, matched certain patterns we've been tracking. Tatiana could barely breathe. Are you saying, she whispered, my baby might be alive? He hesitated. We can't confirm anything yet, but there's a chance. In that moment, I watched something come alive inside Tatiana. A light, a purpose, something I hadn't seen in weeks. What do we do? She asked. How do we find her? And that's when the investigator laid it out. A sting operation. Risky, delicate, dangerous. You'll need to pose as a potential buyer, he said. We believe one of the suspects is planning to sell a newborn in the coming days, a girl. Tatiana stared at him, stunned. You want me to pretend I'm buying a baby? We need someone they won't suspect. Someone desperate, believable. At first, they considered using Alla, but she was too recognizable, too vocal on social media, too involved in protests. So it had to be Tatiana. I objected. Loudly. No, absolutely not. She's not a cop. She's a mother. She's still grieving. You can't put her in that position. Tatiana placed her hand over mine. Andrei, she said, if there's even the slightest chance our daughter is alive, I have to do this. I wanted to scream, but deep down, I knew she was right. The next 48 hours were a blur of briefings, wiretaps, disguises. The police had traced the baby to a woman named Tamara Zmachenko, a retired pediatrician with no children of her own and a long history of shady connections. They believed she was working with a network, sourcing babies from corrupt doctors, hiding them until they could be sold to desperate families or worse. According to Serhiy, Tamara and her partner were planning to hand off the child at a discreet location just outside the city. Tatiana was wired, trained to stall, and instructed on what to say and not say. I wanted to be there, to protect her, but I wasn't allowed. I sat in a surveillance van with Serhiy, listening through headphones. I've got this, she had whispered to me before leaving. I know I do. Tamara arrived late. She was in her 60s, heavy makeup, thick fur coat despite the warm weather. Beside her was a man carrying a small bundle. Tatiana waited by the car, nerves of steel. Is that her? She asked. Tamara nodded. Healthy, quiet, good lungs. Doesn't cry much. You'll like her. Why are you giving her up? Tatiana asked. Tamara shrugged. Some women weren't meant to be mothers. You, on the other hand, look ready. Then she pulled out paperwork. Forged birth records. A false hospital discharge. Even a fake vaccination certificate. I don't need much, Tamara said. You look like a good person. $3,000 is enough. Tatiana's hands shook as she reached for the fake documents. She glanced at the bundle. A sleeping baby girl wrapped in a pale yellow blanket. That's when she said it. What's her name? Tamara raised an eyebrow. Why? I just want to know what she was called before I change it. The woman hesitated. I think the nurse said, Taya, or something like that. Tatiana froze. Serhiy, in the van beside me, gave the signal. Now, the arrest team swarmed in seconds. Unmarked cars, plainclothes officers, guns drawn. Tamara's partner tried to run. He didn't get far. Tamara screamed, cursed, tried to grab the baby, but Tatiana held her tightly, refusing to let go. She's mine, she cried. You hear me? She's mine. We were taken to the station. Tatiana refused to let go of the baby for hours. She sat in the interrogation room, rocking her gently, singing lullabies through tears. But the nightmare wasn't over. We need to perform DNA testing, Serhiy said gently. It'll take time. Please, Tatiana begged. Just tell me, is it her? We can't promise anything, he said. But the timing, the location, the description, it all fits. That night, they took the baby to a child care center, pending legal clearance. Tatiana screamed. I had to pull her away from the crib. I can't lose her again, she sobbed. We'll get her back, I said. I swear to you. We will. The days that followed were torture. Endless waiting. Legal forms. Forensic tests. But something in me had changed. I believed her now. I believed in the dreams. The whispers. The impossible hope she'd clung to when everyone else, including me, had given up. She wasn't crazy. She was a mother. And she knew. 3 days passed. Then 5. Then a week. Tatiana barely left the apartment. She sat by the window for hours, staring at the driveway, as if someone might pull up with our daughter at any moment. Every knock, every ring-on, every passing car made her flinch. I'd never seen her this quiet. Not sad, just suspended in something heavier than grief. Like she couldn't let herself breathe until she knew. And I was no better. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't work. All I did was wait. Then, on a rainy Thursday afternoon, the call finally came. Tatiana picked up, her hands shaking. Yes? Yes, this is she. There was silence. Then tears. Not the kind that fall slowly, silently, but the kind that explode from deep inside, without warning, without control. I grabbed the phone. Hello? What is it? What happened? The voice on the other end, Serhi, was calm. It's her, he said. The DNA is a match. 99.998% probability. The girl you recovered, she's your daughter. I don't even remember dropping the phone. Tatiana was already on the floor, sobbing. I knelt beside her and wrapped my arms around her. For the first time in weeks, no, months, we both cried out of joy. Taya was alive. And she was ours. The next morning, we were allowed to bring her home. They handed her to us with more paperwork than I've ever seen in my life. But we didn't care. I would have signed 1,000 pages just to hold her. She was smaller than I expected. Fragile. But her eyes, they were Tatiana's. And when she smiled for the first time, I swear, the world shifted back into place. That night, we didn't sleep. Not because Taya cried, she barely did, but because we just wanted to stare at her, to memorize every inch of her face, every movement of her tiny hands. She was real. Ours. Finally. The weeks that followed were strange. Relatives who had once told Tatiana to move on now sent flowers and gifts. People apologized. Even Vera, Tatiana's grandmother, came to visit, carrying a handmade quilt. I knew it, she whispered. I told you. A mother always knows. As for Alla, she cried harder than Tatiana when she held Taya. She's beautiful, she kept saying. She's real. And me? I had to face myself. I wasn't proud of how I handled it all. I doubted Tatiana, yelled at her, told her to give up. But she never did. Not for 1 second. She believed when no one else would dot. And because of that, we got our daughter back. I told her I was sorry more than once. She never said, I told you so. She just smiled and said, now you know. The case eventually went public. Tamara Zmichenko and 2 others were arrested and charged with child trafficking, forgery, and illegal adoption practices. At least 6 other families were identified, some reunited, some still searching. Hospitals across the region were investigated. New policies were introduced. More transparency. More accountability. But none of that changes what we lived through. People ask us now, how did you know? The truth is, we didn't dot. Not really dot. Not fully. But Tatiana felt it dot. In her dreams. In her chest. In that quiet space only mothers seem to understand. And sometimes, that's all it takes. So if you ever feel something isn't right, even when everyone tells you it is, trust your heart dot. Because the truth has a way of finding its way home dot. Just like Taya did.